I heard from lawmakers in the last couple of weeks that there was concern that Israel wouldn't go just after the nuclear sites, they might go big, and that would very much lead to a war. And that's what, it's already a war between Israel and Iran. The only question is, how does Iran respond to this?
Dude, what are these? Dude, we have been listening to American media, both from CNN and Fox News, for what, the past 2 hours? Or almost 3 hours now. And at no point did a single person so far say, hey, why is Israel doing this? Like, why is this allowed? Not one person. Their coverage is identical. Not a single person is going, hey, do you think it's appropriate to violate the sovereignty of a regional power this way? In a severe escalation of war? With the hopes that you can draw America into the battle as well? Don't you feel like you should stop doing the fucking genocide of Palestinians? Like, not even a little bit like, hey, don't you have your hands full murdering all the children in the Gaza Strip? Incredible. Not a single fucking peep.
The American people, they don't tell anybody, but you can watch step by step. We've had 6 of those 7 wars. The only one that hasn't happened is Iran. And if you watch every day now, the MSM, the mainstream media, is pushing for U.S. war with Iran. Netanyahu's pushing for war with Iran. They're really trying to get this started to make 7 out of 7. But Obama, for no particular reason, by the way, but he launched.
Had there been no American sanctions, there would be no protest today.
But what about the appalling human rights record of this Iranian regime?
I'm not defending how they treat their people. I'm just telling you, I think that how they treat their people is playing a small part in causing these uprisings today. I agree that the regime under Khomeini is repressive. My view is that's the Iranians' business. It's not your business or my business to go in to Iran and rearrange the politics of Iran. I believe in sovereignty. I don't like the idea of countries coming into the United States and interfering in our politics, and I'm sure you as a Brit don't want other countries interfering in British politics. But the idea that a country like Iran, which is no threat to the United States, or a country like Venezuela, which is no
Iran is no threat to the United States.
No, it's not. Why is it a threat to the United States?
Well, maybe because the Ayatollah has repeatedly threatened the United States publicly.
He can repeatedly threaten the United States till he's blue in the face. Who cares? The question is, does he have the military capability to do harm to us?
Well,
the answer is no. But you're making the argument that they're not a threat to the United States, they're a threat to Israel. And because we're joined at the hip with Israel, anything that's a threat to Israel is a threat to the United States. I don't buy that argument. I'm an American firster. I care about the U.S. national interest. And it is not in our national interest to have this conflictual relationship with Iran. And if it weren't for the fact that the Israelis have so much power in the United States and insist that we keep Iran as an adversary, we would otherwise have good relations with the Iranians.
What happens if the supreme leader is removed in Iran? What happens?
Well, that's an open question. I mean, no one knows who would take over. Obviously, their system is divided between the supreme leader and the IRGC that responds directly to him. And then you've got these, quasi-elected individuals, the ones that wear the suits on television who are part of their political branches, but ultimately have to run everything they do by the supreme leader. So I don't think anyone can give you a simple answer as to what happens next in Iran if the supreme leader and the regime were to fall, other than the hope that there would be some ability to have somebody within their systems that you could work towards a similar transition. I would imagine it would be even far more complex than the one we're describing now, because you're talking about a regime that's in place for a very long time. So that's going to require a lot of careful thinking if that eventuality ever presents itself. We have to have enough force and power in the region, just on a baseline, to defend against that possibility, that at some point, as a result of something, the Iranian regime decides to strike at our troop presence in the region. The president always reserves the preemptive defensive option. In essence, if we have indications that, in fact, they're going to attack our troops in the region, to defend our personnel in the region. We also have security agreements, the Defense of Israel Plan and others, that require us to have a forced posture in the region to defend against that. And so I think it's wise and prudent to have a forced posture within the region that could respond and potentially, not necessarily what's going to happen, but if necessary, preemptively prevent the attack against thousands of American servicemen and other facilities in the region and our allies. I hope it doesn't come to that, but that's, I think, what you're seeing now is the ability to posture assets in the region to defend against what could be an Iranian threat against our personnel. They certainly have the capability to do it because they've amassed thousands and thousands of ballistic missiles that they've built. Despite the fact that their economy's collapsing, they keep spending money on that.
Will the U.S. attack Iran? And what do the moon phases have to do with it? I don't care. I'm Dr. K, a political scientist that looks at how information is shared. And let's look at Iran, but not to talk about what might happen. We got to look at what already did happen to show you how speculation is not news, but it can be a weapon. Cliffhanger content fills the vacuum between what we know and what could happen. And we get sucked into the information vacuum. And we naturally want to reduce prediction error, to fill that gap, to keep us safe. So when the world feels scary, we scroll and refresh to connect the dots. But on algorithm-driven platforms, the feed learns what keeps us uncertain and activated, and then gives us more of that to keep us there. Combine this with confirmation bias that we all interpret, look for, and remember information in a way that fits into our existing beliefs. We have a situation where information is packaged as a what if, then pushed out by algorithms because it keeps our attention, and then it's understood in completely different ways. In Iran, when the internet was up inside the country and US President Trump tweeted, "America is prepared to assist," and talked about being locked and loaded if protesters were harmed, many protesters saw this as a promise of backing or even military intervention. In safety, speculation content is at its best just fact-based, and it mixes genuine warning signals, and then it tickles the algorithm for someone's profit. At its worst, it shapes real-world risk-taking. There are accounts now that people in Iran acted because they thought outside help was coming, and the regime used those very outside signals as proof that the movement was foreign-backed and not legitimate, and this could have led to even a harsher crackdown. Which makes me connect these dots. If algorithm-driven platforms shape what we see, and human nature leads us to fill in the gaps and amplify what we want most to hear, this is a way to influence what happens on the ground without even lifting a finger. No formal operation is needed to end up with operational effects. And outside actors can claim they never had anything to do with it.
If strikes do happen, what are possible implications for oil markets we need to think about?
Well, I think you'll see an immediate risk premium apply. Oil prices will jump right away, even if barrels are not taken off the market just on the risk alone. But the key thing to watch with Iran is the Strait of Hormuz. 20 million barrels per day of crude and other petroleum products go through there. That's about 20% of all global maritime trade of crude. It's a huge global choke point. Iran largely controls it. They wouldn't even need to shut it off for you to see real price jumps. Just the threat of that action could send prices soaring. However, some analysts tell me this is something that Iran has talked about doing for a long time. It's something they've never really done. The question is, could they even actually pull that off? But it's still going to be the risk premium that people are watching just because Iran has that major lever to pull over that choke point.
We have to make a deal, otherwise it's going to be very traumatic. Very traumatic. I don't want that to happen, but we have to make a deal. They should have made a deal the first time, and they got Midnight Hammer instead. We had a very good meeting yesterday with Bibi Netanyahu, and he understands, but it's ultimately up to me. If the deal isn't a very fair deal and a very good deal with Iran, then it's going to be, I think, a very difficult time for them. in the back. I guess over the next month, something like that. Yeah, shouldn't take. I mean, it should happen quickly. They should agree very quickly.